I had a hobby too. Mine happened to be guns and ballistics, and I studied guns and ballistics as much as I could, and I wrote an article about high velocity.
So out of all my years working at Weatherby, the last 5 have been some of the most exciting. Working with Adam, with him running the company.
And to think that I get the opportunity of carrying on my grandfather's legacy 75 years later here in Sheridan, Wyoming, I mean, it really is a dream come true.
Oh, I'm home. Thank God I'm home.
On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast.
All right, anybody not ready?
I was born not ready.
That's please just take that and use it for something because you just recorded it. It's fantastic.
This would be my tagline.
Welcome to On Our Mark, the Weatherby Podcast. I'm Luke Torkeldsen, and I'm joined again by Mac Vincenberg and Micah Surek. Did I say it right?
Sherrick.
Sherrick?
Yeah.
I feel like there's not an H.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I can't complain. Torkeldsen has a TH, and you don't say it. We should trade. We should trade H's. That would
I
work.
think this would be a good idea because yours is closer to Shrek. So,
Yeah.
We want to talk a little bit today about what we like to do, which we're not necessarily experts, but what we like to do on our personal tag and hunting strategy, especially when we're talking about Western hunting. And none of us grew up in the West. Nebraska's not the West.
Midwest.
Midwest. So, quick background, like 30-second background, Mac. Go.
I grew up in the Midwest in Wisconsin and then spent some of my formative years also in Tennessee, hunting whitetails, turkeys, and upland birds, and that's it. So,
Micah.
Same, Matt. Nebraska, grew up turkey, whitetail, pheasant hunting. It's kind of the scope.
Yep, I grew up in Texas. I didn't grow up hunting, actually, but I started hunting still in Texas, like in college. And, turkey, ducks and geese, and whitetail. And it's very different from Western states. We moved, after I was married, we moved to Colorado when I was hunting there. But Colorado, like Wyoming, has some confusing when you're used to just like, hey, give me my deer tag.
Yeah.
It can be a little tricky when you're looking for, all right, so I got to do this for deer, I got to do that for elk, I got to do this for antelope. Wait, I have to do it by when? It gets all crazy. So
it's crazy. And it can be really scary. Like, it can be intimidating coming in, even if you are a hunter, like all of us were, like, and have bought tags. Like, you didn't get into it till later, Luke, but you bought tags a large portion of your life. I've bought tags almost all my life. Mike, I'm sure you have. Like,
college was a long time ago for me.
But, but it's totally different than, I was going whitetail hunting with my dad in Tennessee. It's like, all right, so we bought the whitetail tag. We can hunt anywhere in the state that's public or we have private land access.
Good to go.
And the season opens on this date for muzzleloader. It closes this date, opens archery here, and then closes, and rifle until then is done. And that's it. You had to know, like, 3 dates.
Mm-hmm.
It's the blend of overlapping, muzzleloader, archery, right, like all these different seasons overlapping in Colorado. First rifle, second rifle, third rifle, fourth rifle. So it gets a little bit more complicated when you get out west.
Yeah, it's super confusing, and it was intimidating coming in for sure. I'm sure we all felt the same thing. I mean, if you grow up hunting, you just kind of, if you grow up hunting in the Midwest or something like that, or in the Eastern Coast or what have you, I honestly never thought about it. Like, I was like, I came out here and I saw, like, I was driving with you and our marketing director at the time, Kevin, and you guys were like, oh, that's elk 37. Yep. Oh, well, this is deer 23. And I'm like,
yeah,
what do these numbers mean?
Yeah, if you don't know, Wyoming has different units by species, which can get confusing. Like, at least Alaska, I believe, it's the same units no matter the species. It's a zone.
Didn't know
so
that.
It's like, okay, that 26 is 26 for bear, for moose, for caribou. It's the same.
I did not know that.
Yeah, we don't do that in Wyoming. It's
each individual
one.
species.
So,
yeah. It's confusing because if you don't know Wyoming, and I'm sure a lot of the other states are the same, there is, I think, 115 areas or somewhere around there. I know I've seen, maybe it's 120. I think it's 130.
Well, again, by species, because like for mountain goat.
Generally, yeah. Just like 5.
5.
Yeah.
Right.
Generally, I think if you think the big 3 that residents here are going to draw every year, an elk, a deer, and antelope, you're looking at between them probably 400 different zones and they all have different dates and all have different things you can shoot.
Yeah. So, a little more on background. You've been with Weatherby and in Wyoming for.
I moved here in April of 2019, so it's been coming up on 2 years here.
So you're now a hunting resident.
I am now yes, hunting resident. Had my first season last year.
Micah, this is an insult to injury question, I know, but just for you got to tell me what's your situation. You moved here when?
August. August.
Which is a difficult time to move.
I lucked out.
That's actually it's not the worst.
Yeah, I could have got. Yeah, it could have been a little bit worse. Where now I'll be able to get the general tag after my year of residency, which will be sweet for general deer, general elk.
Wyoming takes a year to be a hunting resident.
Correct.
And not only, so Micah was talking, he gets to hunt at least general tags. So had Micah moved here in November or something, after like late November, December, after most of our big game seasons were done, you don't have. It's not a year of residency to the point that you're going to shoot your animal. It's when you can apply for that.
Correct.
Exactly.
That's right.
That's what I was. Yeah, I could have been screwed. But luckily, I'll get to do the general next year. So.
Yeah, and for us, we're fortunate that general's pretty good.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, Luke, it sucks in Wyoming. It's really bad.
That's what I said.
Yeah, it's really bad.
Yep. What antelope though? Even as a resident, there's no general.
Correct.
You still have to draw.
Draw only, but there's plenty of tags.
I'm hoping I can do a leftover unit and a leftover tag if I'm in time, or I don't know if I need to do it as a non-res.
If there's, I think 2 years ago, I moved here in 18. There were leftovers like almost all the way up to season. And now in this, we're not even post-Rona, but in this pandemic era, I think tags are going to go pretty quick.
Tags were rough last year.
Yeah.
But there were leftovers late into the season because I was debating getting a set of
for some
antelope
does
tags. But
and
like,
stuff,
there was a
yeah.
couple bucks, antelopes only, but I mean, they were rough units. Like
Units where it's like 0.5% public land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to do a lot of driving and hiking to one spot.
It can still be done though. I mean,
It can be done.
For antelope, there's no shortage of them in Wyoming. So.
Beggars can't be choosers, you know.
Yeah.
That's what I get dealt for next year. I mean, I'm pretty excited to do some general elk and kind of spend
for
a lot
$48.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Or is it
55.
55?
Oh, did it go up?
It wasn't 48 last year, was it?
It's $50 plus or
Okay,
minus.
Okay.
But under 60.
It's better than the 700 I paid.
That's my point.
A couple years
Exactly.
ago when I came out here. So
Yeah.
So there's an intimidation factor when you're, especially as a non-resident looking, because Mike is talking about, like, you know, that elk tag is like, you know, we have it good as residents. It's whatever, $50.
Mm-hmm.
But if you consider all of this information, and if you don't have somebody you know out here, like a friend or a guide that you're trusting on or something, and you're like, holy moly, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know where to put my $700, like, because I don't know where I'm going to shoot an animal or where the animals even live or what have you. So we wanted to sit down today.
Scouting's probably not an option for you.
You know, if I was coming from Tennessee, I was not paying for the flight out to scout and then the flight out to shoot something. Like, so that we just wanted to kind of cover that today because it is a big deal, and we want, you know, talked about it in the last podcast. There's like 8 million new firearms owners because of all the craziness this year, and that's new hunters. It's not all new hunters, but that's new hunters. That's people who are going to be getting into it and have an interest potentially in Western big game hunting, and that's got a steep learning curve. So
It does. So
Do you want to talk like just touch on the basic general premise? I mean, some states are kind of pure bonus points. Some states are, you know, legitimately only go to the people that have the most points. It kind of
so I feel like we got to give like a disclaimer in here too. Like, this is just three dudes that really like to hunt. Talking about some of the stuff that we know, and if you're looking for like a true resource, get with
there's some out there.
there's get
YouTube, Eastman's, Go Hunt,
Hunting Fool.
Hunting Fool is
like,
great. But if you're a DIY kind of guy and you're looking for, man, how can I just get out here and do this as cheaply as possible? There's a lot of ways to do it, but you got to do some research. So it starts with looking on Game and Fish or whatever the Department of Wildlife in that state is called, and looking at the units you're interested in and looking at those draw odds. Because in Wyoming, at least, as a non-resident, there's units that are pretty well 100% draw, even as a non-res. And there's some where you're going to need, could be 20 points to draw even an antelope, like in the antelope in the red desert. I can't remember the points you need, but it's more than 10.
Crazy guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Let's talk some of the basics. So for anybody listening, like if you come out and you're coming from the Midwest or the East or what have you, and you're used to buying a tag for your state, and you can go hunt. That's it. You come out here. Let's pick an animal. What do we want to hunt, guys? Like elk.
I think most people are coming out to hunt elk, so I think that might be a.
So we've got 100-something units for elk in this state, all with varying degrees of success, harvest rates, success rates for drawing your tag. So if you put in for the lottery, which this podcast will probably actually come out after, but January 1st, if you're a non-resident, you missed your chance to put in for elk.
January 31st.
January 31st, apologize.
Well, should we back up from that and say, hey, there's general and there's limited entry. As a non-resident, you're going to be putting in for either one.
Oh, we can go down the rabbit hole because there's special tags too.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it gets crazy really quick, but essentially in Wyoming, there's not an over-the-counter tag. Like in Colorado,
for a non-resident,
as a non-resident, in certain units, you can just show up in hunting season and be like, I need my over-the-counter elk tag. Those units are getting less and less.
White River National Forest, Colorado. There you go.
But you can't even do that in Wyoming, so you have had to have planned ahead, and that planning starts like the 1st of January, because like you said, or before, because the draw deadline is the 31st, no matter what.
Yep. And so you've got these deadlines. You got to apply for your tags. You can apply, like Micah said, for a general tag, which will give you. We have good general units in Wyoming. Actually, there's about 50 units, and they're sparsely spread out all over the state, kind of randomly, where you can, if you have that one tag, the general tag, you can hunt any one of those units.
Any general unit, according to the dates that they are open.
Which and check, because each specific unit within the general have their own season dates, and a good portion of them are similar, the same dates, but sometimes they'll go from any bull or any elk to then after a couple days they'll switch to bull only. So you pay attention, but for the most part, what Mac's saying is right on. And of those general units, like 50% of them are phenomenal for.
Yeah, I mean, I've shot my elk.
You mean terrible?
Sorry.
I worked really hard.
But so I mean that, and then I can touch on it later. But that was kind of one of my hunts that I did here was on a general tag. But I'm excited to hear from you guys on the limited entry process and how that works for me. You know, I won't be able to do it this coming season, but after that, kind of hearing, you know, you get to put in, you don't draw. You can always then go. I can go down to the local store and get my general tag and go hunt.
I think it's cool as a Wyoming resident that as a resident for elk, there's no points. Can't get preference points. It's
all random.
All random. That's not true for non-residents, but for residents.
Touch on the preference points real quick, Luke, because if we have beginners, we didn't even talk about them.
Good point. So,
sorry, I feel like you derailed us on that.
No. You can. There's a couple ways you can get points. So if you put in for the draw and you don't get drawn, you can put as your second option essentially, I want a preference point. That gives you basically an extra ticket in the lottery the next year. Or you can keep collecting those tickets and build them up for units that need more preference points. And so it's not necessarily tickets isn't even the right term, because they start with, okay, we're only going to swipe, pull the number from people that have 3 tickets or more in the bucket. They dedicate do dedicate a percentage, a small percent, to complete random, but then the majority of the non-res tags go to there's a preference point line. So pick a number. You got to have 5 preference points. So everybody that puts in with 5 or more preference points is then could get drawn.
Yeah, I think they separate it because we do this the normal and the special, and it's like, I don't know, 60-40 or whatever. And then say we just did the normal draw, 75% go to the max point, and 25% goes random. So you always have a chance.
Yep.
So that's I really like that about Wyoming, because you can put
a chance.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah.
So you could we gotta get that on here, like just as a soundbite.
Yeah, you need to fix that sound, man.
I will do it.
Yeah.
So preference points, you can earn 1 a year, whether you buy it or you apply for the tag and you don't get it. So these people we're talking about, like there's some units in these states. Like if you want to shoot a bighorn sheep or something crazy like that, you're going to wait 25 years because the line that Luke was talking about, it's like you're not drawing it unless you have 25 points or more. So it's not so much a ticket as it is like
I was trying to make an analogy.
Preference point is actually probably the best name. You're a preferred. It's like seniority almost. Like the older you are, like
you got tenure.
You get
some
tenure. Yeah,
tenure.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, some of them they don't even allow you to draw before you have
A certain
certain
number.
amount of points.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's like everybody's got to take their time. Everybody wants to hunt these animals, and we're a little luckier as residents. But even we have to get points on certain things. But if you want to draw and have the best chance when you're coming out, because you're spending $700 on your non-resident tag, you may want to wait to earn some of those points instead of going for a unit that has less points, because obviously if it's less points to get in, your success rates aren't going to be most likely as high.
Yeah, and mostly it's hard to say.
Not to say
Game
hard
and
work
Game
can't-
and Fish sets the how it all works out, but I think in general they're trying to manage the population or the herd, and then also balancing those success rates like you're talking about. So it's all kind of they know how many animals they need to maintain the herd size.
Yeah.
They have numbers they want to hit, like at objective, and that's something that when the person that wants to come out west digs in and does their research, you can read their write-ups at the end of the year. You can read harvest reports and then dig into those spreadsheets and kind of narrow down your unit.
Yeah.
But I think Wyoming's system, where it's 75% is going to the max point holder and 25% random, it's such a great mix, because other than like Colorado, where it's going true max
just
point
points.
holder,
Yeah.
I might not even
Draw in your lifetime.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm not even going to try in those instances. I'm going to just do more OTC or find some other avenues to draw a couple tags, every so often.
Yeah, I'm hopeful because as a resident now, I can put in for mountain goat and bighorn sheep. There's a couple units where like one tag is going to
Is
go.
random.
Like it's
Yeah.
going to literally be one tag, but one tag is going to be a random.
Yep.
So with no points, I can go in there because there are points
Yeah.
for residents for goat,
And-
sheep, and moose.
Yep.
and give it a whirl.
And I roll the dice.
And
And
if nothing happens, you get your point. Like, and if you don't draw, if you're a resident or a non-resident, minus a small fee, you get that money back. Like,
Correct.
if you're paying out of state for a $2,000 sheep tag, you don't pay that, and then it's like, well, didn't draw this year. There goes my $2,000.
Yeah, one not super awesome thing that Wyoming does is they basically charge full value of the tag up front.
Yeah,
like on January 31st, you're
Hope you got paid yesterday.
yeah.
It's hard to track to each state, because between Idaho, $150 application, and the hunting license to Wyoming and Montana, these different states, some take the money up front, some only charge a little bit, and then you'll see if you draw later, it hit your bank account. I must draw. I think Idaho on the big game, on the dream species, the sheep, the goat, the bison, I think it's you have to select which one you're putting in, and you can't put in for some of the other species. I'm not I'm not
Yeah,
real
I haven't
rusty
looked
on
at
that,
Idaho.
but it's pretty nice, because you have to pick an avenue. You have to select one, so your odds are a little bit better. So that's a state that I'm keeping an eye out for some of those once in a lifetime species, as well as trying to get lucky here, like Luke was saying, on some of those goat and sheep.
I'm putting in for all three: moose, goat, and sheep. And
Well, you
just-
shot
just
a moose.
going
Leave
for
some
it.
for the rest of
Not
us.
in Wyoming.
Yeah,
I
not in
shot one.
Wyoming.
I
Yeah, you
did.
shot a giant Alaskan
You know
one.
what's cool about Alaska, and I think Idaho does this, but in Alaska, you can use your tag on a species as long as it's in season.
yeah, yeah,
Lesser
yeah.
species
value.
of quote unquote lesser value, which is it kind of stinks to say lesser value.
Wolverine.
But yeah, on the moose hunt, I had a brown bear tag in my pocket, and we were in sheep country, and so I was like, "There's a chance." Going into it, I was so pumped.
We
I was
need
like,
that button.
I was like going into it. I could come home with a moose and a brown bear, or a moose and a sheep, and the moose hunt it was awesome, but there's no walk in the park. Like it took, on a 10-day hunt, I shot on the 8th day. And then the 9th day was spent basically taking care of the moose.
The whole day, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of work. So
You just got that back recently, right?
yeah, this like 2 days ago. It never saw a brown bear and never got to get into sheep country. So it's like, I thought brown bears, like, they give them away in Alaska. What's going on here?
Well, the fact that you never
They
saw
don't come up to
one,
hug you like the Yellowstone bears.
No, they don't. Hopefully not.
Yeah.
But I still want to shoot a moose in Wyoming, even though they're smaller. I mean, my goodness.
Dude, I've seen some big ones, actually. I was showing Micah the other day.
Shirus
He's like,
moose
that's the biggest Shirus moose I've ever seen.
I was like, I'm not an expert on moose, but even I know, I'm like, that is an absolute giant. So,
that's a big boy.
Their moose are huge. So, Mac, for this year, what's your personal, what are you trying to get done?
Okay, so like you, Luke, I too am gonna put in. I mean, there's a chance out there. I've done my research a little bit. The bighorn sheep I'm gonna put in for, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. They give away like one tag in the units I've looked at for random draw. But I found some goat units. I know you and I think are looking at the exact same ones, but there's some goat units with a 7-ish% chance.
Yeah.
And about a 50 to 60% harvest success rate. Those are odds I'm generally willing to out hunt people. So those are odds I'm willing to take on my goat tag. In Wyoming, if you draw a bison or a goat tag, it is random, but it is a once in a lifetime tag. You can only get it once, except for maybe where I'm looking, but but if it's a 7% chance, so it's not odds I would stake my life on, but it's like, oh, well, you know what? That's not 1%, or that's not 1,000%. I'm going to try that. So going to do that, going to put in for bison and moose and bighorn, all those just, if
right on.
Something catches, throw it up to the wind, and if it sticks.
What about deer?
And then deer. I put in for a unit last year. That was a pretty good unit with a friend of mine, and we put in separately. And of course, I told him where to put in, and he drew the tag, and I didn't.
So you said on a party.
I was thinking that was going to be me who drew.
Whoa, okay, so pause.
Oh, yeah.
Pause
Hold
on this.
on,
So,
hold
Party. Back it up.
yeah. Well, just because I'm a newbie too. So how does the party application system work?
So party application, and actually we'll talk a little bit about this because I'm going to talk some non-res stuff in a minute as well. But you can put in on the Wyoming Game and Fish website, you can put in for your tags in the lottery draw as an individual or as a party leader or party member. And what that is basically individual is just you. Like,
Yeah.
that's what I did last year.
So in the group, though, do they average or do they go to the lowest point holder, or what's the?
It used to be an average. I was actually talking to a guy who's lived here for a while about that, but it is pretty much I'm not sure if it's the lowest or highest point holder. I don't know that exactly, but think of it as in if Micah, Luke, and I are all wanting to draw a tag in the same area, we can all put in it as an individual. And maybe 2 out of 3 of us will draw the tag. Maybe 3 out of 3 will. Maybe 1 out of 3, and maybe none out of 3.
Right.
If we put in as a party, and Luke organizes the party, and me and Mike are in his party, we are 3 names, but we're in.
We
one
all
hat.
get drawn together.
We're in the same hat.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
one instead of the 3.
I do like that.
3 out of 10. We now have a 1 out of 10 chance of being drawn, but all 3 of us get the tag if the 1 is drawn.
Yeah, and
So-
here's where that kind of is an advantage. So let's say, I'm making some numbers up for ease.
Yeah,
Let's say that there is a unit that has 10 tags available. And on the 9th draw, we're in as a party. They draw my name. They're still going to issue
Us the tag.
you guys the
Yeah,
tags as
that's
well.
awesome.
So they're going to issue 12 tags.
That's awesome. So
They'll take that from the next season or for the
and
next year.
allocate
So
it,
they'll
yeah.
bump the next year down
Gotcha.
by that many.
So in that situation, say we're trying to draw that,
Mm-hmm.
it takes, let's just use a number, 10 points to draw, whatever species, this is just hypothetical. And you're sitting at like, maybe he has the 10 points and me and Mac don't, and we get in. That's going to bring the point total down, or is it going to bump us all together? I guess that's where
That's going to get outside of my my
yeah.
scope of expertise.
I think
for
it's
sure.
whoever the organizer is, though. Like I said, I was talking to a guy who's lived here about this for a while about this the other day. I think it actually goes to who the organizer is, like their point value, but I could be wrong on that.
Well, let's put it out to the whoever's if somebody's listening to this and knows, hit us up.
Yeah, educate us. Put it in the comments. Like we said, we're not experts. We're just like I
Yeah.
said, we're three guys who like hunting and doing what we know how to do.
I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not an expert, so I don't know.
So that's in your benefit. The party is in the benefit. Like I've got family that wants to come out and hunt, or if you're maybe a person that only wants to hunt with another person, like I'm like, well, if Luke's not going, I'm not going hunting this year. So I'm only going to go if we both drag the tag. So for my dad who wants to come out and hunt elk,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then,
that's right. You having your family come out.
and then my stepfather-in-law and his son, they want to come out and hunt elk. So for them, they're looking, okay, this is $700 elk tag. We've got to pay for the plane tickets. Got to process the whole thing. It's like it's an ordeal. It's going to cost them, a couple grand or whatever to get out here. So nobody wants to come out if only one guy drew the tag. It's like, well, I'm not coming out to help you shoot yours. Like, I'm not spending all that money. So
That's a really good friend that's going to give up their September and travel and vacation time
To be a
come
pack
out,
mule, maybe.
So, yeah.
So if you're out there, yeah, maybe you might not even shoot something. I mean, there's always a risk. So if you're out there and you got a group of guys that you want to go, and it's like, well, I don't know how to Western big game hunt at all, and I at least want to do it with a friend who maybe they do or don't know, but at least we'll figure it out together. The party's your best bet there, because if you draw, everybody in that party draws.
draw.
You all can shoot an animal. Equal chance.
It doesn't necessarily increase your chances, but it just assures that everybody draws.
Okay.
And that's where I think it's best for out-of-stater wise and non-resident.
Well, I think because a few of the old timers that that I've talked to, they're kind of, they'd get the rotation down, and that everybody, so they'd have one guy that would always have the points.
There could be a thing on points that I'm not certain about that.
I have to look that up.
Yeah.
So it was like trying to, anyway.
So Max, your deer, what's your deer plan?
Deer plans. Gonna put in for that unit. I like to knock things out at the same time. I also bow hunt, so I get a little bit of early start in the season. A lot of bow seasons in Wyoming start earlier. And so I am going to try that unit, but it's also a unit that has really, really good antelope hunting. I also didn't draw that tag last year, and my friend also drew that tag. So I got to help him.
Your time is coming, man.
My time is
due.
coming.
Man.
It's gotten even better this year because I think I can potentially draw an elk
So
tag
you're
there as
going to
well.
try to overlap your deer and antelope unit
I like
so
to.
that you could kind of
You can, if it's, yeah.
You're going out for the seasons overlap.
Just slightly, yeah. So the rifle for deer and antelope has some overlap. Elk, it does not. And then bow, the season's over. Bow antelope is like one of the earliest seasons around here. It opens August 15th.
Yeah, that's rattlesnake season on hunters.
Cactus, cactus in the waistband season. That was rough. More on that later. But so I personally like to have all of my eggs sort of in. If it's a good enough basket, I like to put my eggs in the same basket, because then I'm not limited to the fact that, well, I went out there and, man, I only had a deer tag, but I saw the biggest antelope buck I've ever seen in my life, and there was hundreds of them. If it's like, I'd love to have the opportunity. If it's out there, I want to shoot it. Now, this year I did hunt in all different units, and I was able to successfully fill my tags, and I was very, very fortunate for that. But I like to narrow it down. I got to scout one area. I only got to hunt one area, and I can just knock it all out while I'm there.
You're being efficient with your time.
Yeah.
You're not having to drive all over different units and opportunistic. So, like you said, that exact situation happened when I went out on a hunt with Dave. Stud pronghorn buck just standing there, and we're just like, well,
Anybody got a tag?
nobody's got a tag, so we just waved at him, and then he just looked at us, and we continued on with our unsuccessful trying to locate a giant muley.
You gotta take advantage of your time. I mean, we all work when we're not in the office playing pickleball. We're out there just trying to take some days off and get some animals. So,
Hold on, we're probably gonna need to back that up just a hair. We just our last podcast we just put it up. It's about we're busting it to try to get as many guns and ammo out as we can. We had somebody comment on it wasn't really our page, I don't think, but it was just some forum, and they were like, man, when are these guys going to start making guns and shipping guns and ammo again? It's like, we do it every day. And somebody here maybe have made a comment about, yeah, all we do is play pickleball out in the shop every day, just hanging out. No, we're trying to get as much as we can out the door. So, yeah, that's we've been joking a little bit about pickleball. So.
Sorry for my derailment.
No.
And you, Luke, I mean, what are you putting in? I mean, you talked goats, whatnot, and
yeah,
know
I'm
Micah
definitely
can,
I'm gonna
unfortunately,
try to put in I've been looking at the odds, so we're probably looking at some of the same units, but we're definitely gonna put in for goat, bighorn sheep, and moose as a resident. I'm probably not going to put in for bison this year just because I already have a ton of stuff going. So if I drew it, then it'd be tough. But then I'm still trying to figure out the best strategy. I'll do some form of having antelope and deer overlap.
Okay.
But this will be my first season with my son. He turned 12 just a
Shout out
couple
to
weeks
Trip.
ago. Yeah. So wrong one.
Shout out.
There it is. So Trip will be hunting with me some this year, and so we're trying to figure out what that's going to look like. But that's what's been a little bit mind-blowing for me now is, okay, my wife's going to hunt some this year. Trip's going to hunt some this year. I'm going to hunt some this year. It's like, holy moly.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Luke has an entire army at his house of between his wife and children. So when they're all of age, if they all want to hunt, he's going to be a very, very busy man every season.
I mean, in theory, we can get a lot of meat on the ground this fall, like a lot.
You could fill the meat shortages.
Yeah, I had to
in
buy
the next pandemic.
I had to buy a third freezer this weekend when the moose came. So yeah, first world problems. But yeah, so we're gonna do. Trip will probably just do general because it'll just keep us close to Sheridan.
Is he gonna do deer and antelope or just antelope?
No, I'm gonna. I mean, as a resident, it's not a big investment. I mean,
yeah, I guess, and if you see one, I mean, you want him to have the opportunity. So.
Yeah, so I'm trying to decide if I want to put in for the same area as Trip. I think I don't want to because I want to be hunting for me or hunting for Trip, and we'll hunt together. But I don't want it to come down to where he's trying to be nice, like, Dad, no, you shoot that one, or me, like, you shoot that one, and then it runs off. So I wanna just be like, all right, bud, you're the hunter. Let's go get this done and find something cool. And then I think we'll do like the same as you're talking about, doing a deer and antelope in the same area. And we can be in pretty decent hunting in 5 minutes from our house, which is awesome.
No, yeah.
So
Is there I think some states offer some pretty sweet youth tags.
there are.
Okay.
There's even some special youth seasons.
Yeah.
What I'm really conflicted on, if I'm being real honest about things, is elk for this year, because inside of elk there's also types of tags. So you can get the bull type 9, which is the archery season that starts 15 days before
Our next rabbit hole.
general archery season.
Yeah.
So, but if you get that tag, you are committed to that
bow.
15-day bow season.
And if you get snowed out like I did during archery season and don't have a backup,
Yes.
I was contemplating that same idea,
Mm-hmm.
Luke, but the way to being locked down to that one thing, and elk being so finicky, the weather being so finicky, hunting pressure, all the things that come into it, just being able to bounce out and hit up another unit, that that freedom of, here the elk herd's over here now, or I found one over here.
Yeah.
But about the pressure, that I knew some people who did have that early season tag, and I only know a couple who shot them, but I don't know anybody who didn't have a chance. There's something to be said about that.
Okay,
Yeah.
and so there's two sides to that. Yeah.
And yeah, I have a dream to pack an elk out that I shot with a bow from my motorcycle.
It's pretty rad.
So I'm hoping to take my dirt bike up in archery season, which that would be September 1st if I get that Type 9 tag.
So you're really thinking about putting it in for the Type 9?
Yeah, well, I've got a planned hunt in Idaho with Ken Byers.
Oh, okay.
So
You going in that?
yeah,
The Hell's Canyon there?
Yeah. So that'll be opening day of rifle elk here, so October 15th.
Yep.
So I'm gonna miss
Opener.
some of the week at least of
Yeah.
our rifle season. So I'm like, man, if now's my time to get it done archery here.
Yeah,
So,
and at least you have that backup. You could shoot one in Idaho, so there's that. I mean,
correct.
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 That's the way to do it. I mean,
So I'll probably do that, and then if you get that Type 9, you can also get like a cow only tag. So I'll probably get that for the same unit that we put Trip in for.
Oh, nice.
elk.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
a smart plan and a good way to test out that Type 9 tag, knowing, hey, if it goes funky, I'm going to Idaho.
Yeah, if it goes awesome, I'm been packing a elk out on my motorcycle, loading down the KTM, so that'll be fun.
That'd be dope. And that's like a quick summary. So like you've got all those different units. All the units have different start dates, and on top of this, Luke brought in
Different types
there's
of
9
tag.
different types of tags that all also have different dates. It's so confusing and like it is so intimidating to look at.
I think again, we just need to remind anybody that's listening that's getting confused or wants to look into it. I started watching Randy Newberg. There's Go Hunt. There's Eastman's.
Shout out.
So Hunting Fool.
Yeah.
There's tons of YouTube, Google it. There's tons of information out there. And I called and talked to biologists on my own deal when I dove headfirst.
Oh, hold on. Yeah.
Man, it's the most we've ever
You know,
used to back it up.
It is,
button.
because there's been a few things that we weren't really necessarily planning to talk about. But one thing I was really impressed with you, Micah, was like, I think the week that you got here to our office, you were at either National Forest or Game and Fish, like grilling those guys, and they were telling you all kinds of stuff. And I'm like, I need to call those guys more. Apparently,
Yeah, I mean, don't be afraid to ask. And from a lot of Game and Fish offices and game wardens that I've talked to, like 99% are super awesome, cool, kind folks that want to help you out. So, and they've been awesome, pointing guys in the right direction. But also don't abuse it, like do your research. And I had, pages of notes and kind of got a couple eye rolls, but at the end of the day, it was all cool because I was over prepared to ask about certain areas, certain feed grounds, certain trails, and I think that they respect that when somebody does their homework and shows up rather than just give me the easy answer, tell me where to go.
Hey, tell me where the big bulls are. Just tell me, please, right away.
Nope.
So I think going in and talking to those folks, that's just call them, ask them, talk to the biologist. That's a whole nother resource combined with, the online services, tag services, and doing your own homework. And anybody that's doing the DIY thing already knows about Onyx maps, but you got to have some mapping system too.
Gotta have it.
Yeah.
Out here. You gotta have it out here.
I think if you're boiling
Shout out to Onyx.
yeah, for sure.
Shout out.
If you're boiling it down to really what you have to do in the research, first you have to start with, to me, it's access. I like to look for an area that, at least if you're looking for elk, does it look elky? And if it does, is there access to get to where the elky areas are? I'm not going to go into what I think that is because that's a whole nother situation.
Yeah.
But then after that, look at that unit's draw odds and see if you have a prayer at drawing. And if you think so, put in. And then start really scouring Onyx for like specific features, areas that look flat enough to camp, all that.
And Onyx is awesome. They have you go to Wyoming Game and Fish, you can see the draw odds, you can see the harvest rates, all this if you click the areas. Onyx doesn't have that, but what Onyx has is for each individual state, they have
You can overlay the units by species.
You can put an area for your antelope species in Wyoming, you can put a bear in Montana, and it's going to show you with a GPS on your phone where these units break down. And you can even use it, download the field or the maps in the field and be like, oh, well, shoot, I'm getting close to the edge of my area. I need to stay in here because I can't shoot some over there. Game and Fish is going to wreck me.
And looking at that in the field, knowing, instead of going blind and then getting cliffed out, you wasted how much effort and time getting over here, seeing the top lines on the map, or you heard a bull bugle over here. There's so many uses that go beyond just the scouting phase to actually using it in the field to make you more successful.
Yeah.
Yep.
And unfortunately, the animals have gotten a hold of it too, and that's why they stay on the private land. That's what I've seen.
So, Mac, for my hunt strategy for this year is I messed up February. I didn't mess up. Corona kind of messed it up, but I had a plan to hunt every month of the year. I finally kind of figured it out. So,
Luke's got a secret hunt.
January's waterfowl, and then February I was going to try to get to Tajikistan because I drew a mid-Asian ibex tag at Sheep Show last year. It's hard to plan that right now with the Rona, but March, snow geese.
Snow goose.
Yeah. April, May, turkey.
Okay.
Bear.
May bear.
Bear.
Come
Yeah.
on, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Bear's happening.
We have a annual bear trip pretty much every time I've been here. So
June is also snow geese, but in Canada, assuming they open that up.
Okay.
July, I'm still trying to figure out.
I know something you can hunt.
Yeah. No, we can't get into that one. Can't get into that one. There's
Bleep this out.
It's a coyote.
Yeah, then
you can shoot them all year round.
Okay.
August, Alaska for caribou.
Yep. Oh,
Yeah, pretty awesome. Stay tuned. We're going to have some cool content coming later this year about that. Then September is that archery elk early. And then October is all the things. November, continued more things.
you can shoot your cow elk or you can shoot a bird or what
Yeah.
have you.
And into December, then hopefully a cow elk. And then, yeah, it just pretty much wrapped up the year of like pretty solid solid hunts.
Yeah, I know you didn't get to do the February trip is looking grim right now, but if you can knock 11 out of 12 months going hunting, Luke, you might as well just become a hunt influencer.
Yeah.
No,
At that point,
I need to start taking notes here. Each month.
No, I think I can be done. This is a good state to do it. And mountain lions in there too. That's a good thing for December. So I've been trying a couple times now, and it just hasn't
I do
quite
wanna
come
get out
together.
on a cat hunt,
So
that's
yeah,
for sure.
there's a lot of options. Spring bear, I'm really excited for spring bear season. I'm like 0 for 2 in Montana so far, so hopefully we can get it done this year.
That's become one of my favorite. I had no interest to hunt bears in Tennessee. They have them, but like I don't know. It's not the same out here going up in glass and burn areas and like hiking 5 miles in. It's or more, what have you. I don't know. I love it now. It's like one of the things I'm also.
Spring bear's a blast because you've been holed up for most of the winter after, and like you're kind of lamenting hunting season being over, and you're like itching, and then you're like spring bear, yeah, let's do this.
And also, unpopularly, I love bear meat. It makes the best sausage and snack sticks, hands down.
Right on.
Delicious.
Trichinosis.
I could cook it all day. You got a thermometer. You got the fancy Traeger grill.
I would say I like the growing up on that turkey whitetail kick, and then getting out of your bubble, getting out of your state, and kind of realizing there's such a giant world of opportunity out there for all these other species, and just to spend what we're passionate about in the outdoors, hunting in these other beautiful places, chasing amazing creatures that I got a ton of respect for, living out in this just totally wild, gnarly places. Once you get out of that bubble, man, I'm trading the feathers for fur on that bear hunt. My bear hunt in Idaho was like crazy. It was the most difficult thing I did physically, and
You told me about that one. That sounded rough.
yeah. But we pulled 2 bears out of there, and it was awesome. And then also like calling in, you guys were talking about calling in turkeys, or that's what popped in my head when you guys said turkeys.
Yeah.
Calling in, and it's like calling in, a 700-pound screaming bull, it gets my adrenaline going a little bit more than calling in turkeys. Nothing against turkey hunting. I love turkey hunting. Grew up turkey hunting.
Yeah.
But
It's true.
switching it up a little bit, it's my general hunt that I did a couple years ago. I called in my first bull, and seeing the sapling trees snapping over as he was coming into 20 yards got the adrenaline up. So it had me hooked.
If you haven't experienced a bull basically bugling in your face, then you're just doing it wrong.
Didn't get that one this year. That's for sure.
It's pretty awesome. Yeah, pretty awesome.
I totally forgot where we were at.
No,
on tags.
we need to land this plane. So
We can move on to, I guess, hunting.
Oh, well, I guess I don't have too much plans. I'm just doing the general stuff because my whole situation and
yeah, yours is
timing.
different. Yours is
So,
different. Yeah.
I would say for the newbie getting into it, like my base is I like to start. I'd like to do one out-of-state trip for a budget-wise thing.
Yeah.
Get a couple points in these other states that I'm eyeing, so I can bank them, and do that one. Get that one state in the rotation for my out-of-trip deal, and then hunt my home state. And that's kind of the rotation I try and go on, because I can't really, budget wise to be able to afford multiple out of state trips and vacation time and stuff. So that's kind of what I've done in the past. I get to go to a new state, hunt something new, and try something new, and that's fun. And then hunt my own state. So kind of like tentatively, my plan would hit up the general elk and deer here because I'll be a resident by that point, so I'll be able to do that.
And that's over the counter, like in the middle of season, you can be like, I need my deer tag.
Yeah,
here you go.
Is that everybody who comes up to the counter, Luke?
Yep, they kind of go up there and they're just like, give me my deer tag.
So that's gonna be me, and then I really like that Idaho bear tag, and I'm a lot closer than I was back in Nebraska, so I can hop up and do that if I'm feeling frisky. And then I'm tempted to do the whole grizzly thing on that general tag. So there's some places.
Not grizzly hunting. We don't have general tags
Yeah,
for grizzly bears in Wyoming.
Hunting elk in some grizzly areas. I know my wife's not super thrilled about that, but I've been just looking at the class of the bulls, the herds.
I'm working them over.
Well, I looked at the grizzly. They did the flyover from Game and Parks, and
You will see bears.
oh my, the number of bears they saw in one flyover is
like I know a couple like legit dudes that they're like, yeah, you can't spend the night there.
I'm looking at trying to hike in, potentially come back to the truck, and sleep in my truck, or do minimal stays, basically, and move around a lot, so my scent's not. I'm not constantly coming back to the same camp, trying to mitigate and just be smart about it. But
you need to find a friend with horses. That's the ticket.
Yeah.
We'll be hunting in wilderness areas if we do that, which you also cannot hunt without a guide or a resident if you are a non-resident. So that's something to look for when you're applying for areas.
Good point.
If something is mostly what we call wilderness area, what the Forest Service has designated as that, you can't hunt it without a guide or a resident with you. So don't apply to those areas because you can't legally hunt there unless you have those.
Yeah, you just mentioned one of the last things I wanted to cover, which is outfitters and guides. So like we said a couple times, if all this is confusing, because it is, and you're not really sure where to start, you can start with service like Hunting Pool or Go Hunt.
And these are, you can apply to these. These are sign up, they're web-based or what have you.
Yep, and they will kind of help manage your hunts. Which can be a great thing. Second option would be contact an outfitter in an area you want to go, and it's like, hey, what's it look like for me to get a tag there? And they can help you walk through that process. That's part of what they do.
Don't be afraid to talk to people. I mean, pick up the phone, call people.
For sure.
Have a little bit of discernment. Don't get swindled by some backwoods, whatever. But there's tons of services out there. The online ones, it's cheap to get into. I mean, $50 or whatever, and you can. It's a huge resource.
They got
spreadsheets. They really simplify all this stuff because every state agency does it so differently, and then they compile all that data and make it so much easier to digest. So those are some really good options. We definitely approach this from more of a DIY mindset, but that's my personal preference.
I count them as DIY though. It's just getting the help you can get. I mean,
for sure.
You can go to Wyoming Game and Fish's website and you can click on each individual unit and you can go through like 19 links, or you can buy the Eastman's book, which is my favorite, which has like the units laid out 1 through 100 chronologically, trophy quality, draw rates, success rates, everything, and you can just be like, what's the success rate look like? What's the trophy rate? And I'm just picking the areas that have that.
Yeah.
Well, and like Luke was talking on the guide sided things, go if it's especially it's like first time that and you can afford it, that might be a good option to just see how gnarly the terrain is, how long the distances are. I dove headfirst into Colorado and realized real quick I bit off, way more than I was.
Yeah.
There was some.
If you don't have a mentor or somebody there that can kind of help you out, if you're just going like picking a random state and just showing up and doing it, that's hard. That's hard to do.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of growth that happens in that, and just like ripping the Band-Aid off, like I'm going to figure this out. Yeah, just do it.
That's why I was so glad I did Colorado, because it was kind of eye-opening at how unprepared I was. But it was great. It ultimately was successful because I learned so much, and I learned what I need to do next time. You get to the trailhead and it's closed, or there was a fire, or some situation. So what's your backup plan? Okay, well now I got to rethink because I didn't even have a backup plan. You get to a new area, and I didn't load the maps for the new area because I didn't have a new plan, and then I get cliffed out. So it's just one problem after another.
You're mentioning the cliffed out a lot. Did you get cliffed out a lot in Colorado? Did something happen here?
They have a few cliffs.
But then I actually met the biologist in a subway and had a great conversation with him, and he, after gaining a little experience and knowing the right questions to ask, we kind of hit it off, and then I had a little bit better of the back end of that trip. Got a couple stocks on some mule deer, saw a few more elk, and the trip was better. I didn't fill my tag, but that was like, drinking from a fire hose in terms of just diving in deep, ripping the Band-Aid off, like you said. And I think people need to do that to an extent. Be safe. Don't go. I went probably a little bit too far than I was physically. If I would have got something down out there, how am I going to get it out? Because I'm so far in. Yeah. So I think
gotta have a plan.
Yeah.
Go with a friend.
Have a buddy.
For sure.
Apply as a party.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening to On Our Mark, the Weatherby podcast. If you want to find out more, check out some of the services that we already mentioned. Make sure you follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And just as an extra precaution, make sure you're signed up for our email newsletter in case we get kicked off the social media at some point. Welcome to presidency, Mr. Joe Biden.